And good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Kim Davis. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Today is Tuesday, June the 27th. Can you believe that we are almost finished with the month of June? This time next week, it will be July. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm super excited that you guys have all joined me today. It's always good to be with the folk on Chalk Talk. It has been a busy, busy week since I was last with you all. The NBA draft has taken place. We'll talk about that. The Houston Astros are, after being off yesterday, are back in action tonight as their road trip continues. They did get a win on Sunday, but they have been struggling lately, and there is some nonsense. When I tell you some nonsense, I mean some nonsense happening as people talk about the future Hall of Fame manager, Dusty Baker. We'll talk about that. Also, yesterday, John Lucas had a golf tournament benefiting his foundation in John Lucas Enterprises, where he does a lot of the work with recovery and mental health as it relates to not just players, but young people. And the golf tournament is one of the ways he helps to fund that work. It took place yesterday at Memorial Park. Everybody was out. We'll talk about the John Lucas golf tournament as well. And we'll let you hear from the Houston Rockets new draft picks, from their parents, from head coach Ime Udoka. And also we'll let you hear from, some other folk like Mayor Turner, who was out supporting John Lucas's tournament, John Lucas himself, and also University of Houston head basketball coach, men's basketball coach Kelvin Sampson, who was out for John's tournament, who talked about just the draft and U of H players being taken and what it means for his program. Anyway, there's a lot to get to on today's show. And then, of course, our big interview today is with Dr. Patrick Dix. He is an artificial intelligence expert. So we talked about automation, we talked about AI, what we should know about it, what we should start doing, and also a little bit about Chat GPT, because most people think, oh, AI, that's Chat GPT. Well, as you'll learn from the interview later in today's show, it's a whole lot more than that. So you are in the right place. Buckle up. We're going to have a lot of fun. And of course, what makes this fun is your engagement. So thank you in advance for your questions and your comments. And also, thank you for sharing the show. So as we always get started, we have to say thanks to the people who help us make this show possible. Our good friends over at I Love Jinka. They're coming out with a new campaign. Pay attention. Of course, you'll see it here on Chalk Talk and all my platforms as soon as it is released. Now, you've heard me talk about them expanding into all of the HEB stores with I Love Jinka, with Jinka, the turmeric paste, and the capsules, right, that have healthy living departments. So if you are anywhere where there's an HEB and they have healthy living department, you're in luck. You can go right into the store and pick up your I Love Jinka. If you're not, you can still get it online at ilovejinka.com. But if you are near an HEB, this is where you can find it.
Here at HEB, in the Healthy Living Department of Probiotics, you can find Jinka 7 days a week.
Yeah. Look at that Jinka sale. Look at that. Jinka.
So that is Kimmy Treats. You can get all of it online at kimmytreats.com. You can also find it at Sunshine's Vegetarian Deli. If you happen to be in Houston near the medical center at NRG Stadium, you can go in and pick it up in person. They have everything in stock: Kimmy bars, vegan popcorn, and body butter. Make sure you check it out as soon as you can. You don't want to miss out on some great snacks and some great body butter. And of course, last but certainly not least, our good friends over at Sohum Skin. Actually, our good friend, it's Stephanie Serlin, the esthetician. You need to go check out Stephanie and figure out what you should be doing to protect your skin, especially if you're in this Houston heat. And if you want a great massage, you will not be sorry. Soham Skin is located on the east side of downtown over in Edo. Easy to get to. And again, you won't be sorry. Check out Stephanie Serlin. Tell her you heard about it on Chalk Talk. Okay, listen, I am super excited about today's show. You guys probably say, Kim, you're always excited. You're right. I am. Oh, and one last thing before we get to today's show. We can't forget about our good friends, our partners over at CHAMP. It's a nonprofit organization that supports veterans. They came on board a couple of months ago. We appreciate their partnership and just the great work they're doing, right? If you see something, if you see somebody that looks like they are in need of help or assistance, you want to make sure that, hang on a second, you want to make sure that you reach out and send them the right information, right? So, not 911. If you see somebody that looks like they're having a mental episode, if you know somebody who's having some issues with talking about suicide, the number you want to call is 988. That's the number to get the right people out for mental and behavioral health support. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's important. Remember that number, 988. Don't just think about 911, but think about 988. It is who you should contact. So CHAMP is doing the work. They want to make sure you know about the number to call for prevention, because prevention is vital to wellness. And also, this number is really important for mental and behavioral health support. It is available, and we just want to make sure that you know about it and we talk about it more. All right, so let's get to it. The Houston Rockets draft was last week. Well, the whole draft for the NBA was last week. Of course, Victor Wembanyama was the first overall pick to San Antonio. There was no surprise there. That had been talked about for months and months and probably speculated for probably years. But the Houston Rockets had the 4th pick in the draft last week, and they also had the 20th pick. And we talked a lot about who might they select. Well, they did select Amin Thompson with the 4th pick in the draft. And they selected Cam Whitmore with the 20th pick. Now, there were some thoughts that maybe Cam would go a lot higher. Some thought maybe the Rockets will look at him at 4. Maybe he'd go as high as 5. He slid in the draft. The Rockets were thinking about trying to move up to get him. And then when they saw him sliding, anyway, they were able to get him at the 5th pick. And so I think Coach Ime Udoka made a great point yesterday in the press conference where we got a chance to meet the players in person here in Houston. He said it doesn't really matter where you get selected in the draft. Once you're selected, everybody's in the same spot, right? And so Cam had been practicing and working out and training in Houston. And he said, he feels like it's the right place for him. I'm sure there was some disappointment. I'll let you hear from his mother, who talked about that a little bit. And she said, listen, we didn't have to, comfort him or do anything like that after the draft on last Thursday night. His big goal was to be drafted. He was drafted. He was selected by the Houston Rockets. And so now the next part of the journey begins. So first, I'll let you hear from both players, Amin Thompson and Cam Whitmore.
Everybody wants to win. We got players who got the potential to be great players, help us win championships, and I'm looking forward to being a part of that.
I would say, I was in the same boat. Last year, so I think I'll bring that, same mentality, have that chip on my shoulder again, just coming from, my background of, just a team where, not everybody was on the same page, but you had a lot of group of guys who can, score, get everything done, but usually get the job done. But I think we can change it around, at the Rockets, the same group of guys, everybody can do everything on this floor. Versatility, that's a big thing everybody, can do here. So I think everybody, can help a lot.
That was Amin Thompson first and Cam Whitmore second, talking about, what they can do with this Rockets team, about kind of fitting in where they are. And here's one thing that we know to be true. The Rockets got 2 new players, but they're still really young. Okay, they're still young. And so what happens now is we'll have our eyes on free agency to see what the Rockets do, what Raquel Thompson is able to pull together in terms of some veterans to come in and to really be able to take this team to the next level. Ime Udoka was asked at the press conference, really his plan. Well, first they asked Rafael Stone, who of course deferred to Ime Udoka, which was good to see, about playing time, because you've got young guys in already and they've been playing, and how you're going to navigate that and balance it, and what happens now moving forward. Here is how Coach Udoka responded after the initial question went to Rafael Stone.
I find them and then I hand them over, and it is his job to allocate who plays and how.
I mean, to answer your question, and to your point, a lot of time and positions and those things have been given, so to speak, with the young guys. It'll be changes now, like you said, phase 2. We're adding some more young pieces, but also adding the veterans. So I think just that alone will kind of raise the level of competition. Nothing is handed out anymore, as well as myself and the new staff coming in. We've kind of stressed that to the guys, and so for us, it's just adding the right pieces, raising the whole level of the organization. I think those veterans will help, but we love the young, talented guys, and it's a balance. It might not be the starter or the finisher. It's how can we balance the lineups out with the guys we add, and some guys will play different roles than they have been, but I think we have high character guys that are all used to winning and trying to get on that level, and so they'll do what they have to do to sacrifice for the team. But it is phase 2, and we're looking forward to taking a big step.
It's phase 2. So what does that mean? I think it means it's time for this team to win, right? They certainly cannot finish in the lottery again next season. And I think when you listen to the owner, Tillman Fertitta, when he talks about where the team is, I think he's definitely ready to win. One of the things that Coach Udoka said yesterday is that he's not used to losing, right? He's used to being at the playoffs. Like that's what his background has been as a player, as a coach. Remember, he spent quite a bit of time with the Spurs. And then, of course, he went on to Boston, where he led the team in his first season as head coach to the NBA Finals. Yeah, he's not used to being at the bottom of the barrel. So it will be interesting to see what happens with this Houston Rockets team. It will be really interesting to see what they do in terms of free agency, what moves they make. And, I mentioned the John Lucas golf tournament yesterday. I got a chance to go by there for a little bit. It was a busy, busy day just to support the work that John is doing. A lot of players in town, Vernon Maxwell in town, college coaches like Coach Sampson was there participating in the tournament. Carl Herrera, if you remember him from playing at U of H and then playing with the Rockets. Coach David Culley, former coach of the Houston Texans, was there supporting the tournament, playing golf, and you name it. There were Hall of Famers. There were current players and coaches. It was a great, great selection of people. Mayor Turner was on hand to support the tournament and the work that John Lucas has done and continues to do away from basketball, right, as it relates to mental health and recovery and just those wraparound services. But he also took a minute and talked about his thoughts about the Rockets' new head coach and their future. Here's Mayor Turner.
Coach. Number one, he's a winner. He's good at what he does. And quite frankly,
friend and mentor, John Lucas.
From incidents
over the past
that
20
happen,
years, I have had the privilege of witnessing him change
so
lives.
I'm excited about him.
And while he is a phenomenal basketball skills coach,
that was selected,
I'm not talking about the change that happens in the gym.
So it's
I'm talking about the change that happens in the mind, the heart,
just
and
like
the spirit.
The Astros were like a Phoenix
We are
team,
all here today to
so
support Luke with our own experiences.
So I know it was loud, but you get what you get, right? It was a lot going on, but I wanted you to hear from Mayor Turner. That was him talking about his thoughts about Coach Udoka, the Rockets organization, and where it's going to be. And so here's John Lucas, who took a moment before they teed off to just talk about, he acknowledged some of the people who were on hand, but just thanking people for being a part of yesterday's event.
I always said I owe. And for 38 years, I've been trying to owe and give this city back. So as far as recovery and mental health today, it's even more prevalent. But what binds us all together, I'll tell a quick story and then turn loose, is I see Jeff, and I think of Jeff Van Gundy, not as a Rocket, but holding the foot of a player destined to make a difference in not only a basketball game, but in lives and his impact. I see Rudy T, who actually we played together And Rudy and I had his accident on the court when we were playing in '77, and that bond has stayed together. And I've seen where Kelvin Sampson and I are from North Carolina, and as Rudy won championships and Jeff brought the Rockets back, Kelvin Sampson has brought U of H back. And so that has been a big, big blessing for what is going on and continue to grow.
So that was John Lucas yesterday. I would let you hear what he acknowledged Coach Cully, but I don't know how to bleep out what he said at the end. It was humorous. So, you know, he basically said, hey, Coach Cully, we appreciate you be here. And sometimes basically he said you get really bad teams to work with. And that's me cleaning up what he said about it. But he acknowledged a lot of the people who were there. Clyde Drexler was there, TJ Ford, some who played, some who didn't. Damon Jones, Moochie Norris, Mario Ellie. I mean, the list goes on and on of people who were on hand to support the work that John Lucas continues to do. That just speaks to what people think about him here, not just in Houston, but around the country and around the basketball and around the sports world. You heard him mention Coach Kelvin Sampson from University of Houston. We got a chance to talk to him briefly. And I asked Coach about, they had 2 players drafted in last week's draft and what that means for what it says about his Cougar basketball team, even though we're well aware of the work and the success he's had as he's gotten the Cougars kept them on a high road in recent years. Here is Coach Kelvin Sampson.
Those guys, where you get drafted and all that stuff is good, but, their journey just starts. It's like being a freshman all over again.
What does it say about your program? I mean, we know how great you built it, that you've got a couple guys ago. I mean, does that just kind of...
Well, I think next year we're going to have 6 guys in the NBA. Quentin Grimes went number 25 2 years ago. He's starting for the Knicks. Dejan Jarreau's with the Washington Wizards. Fabian White's with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Nate Hinton's either going to be with Boston or Houston. So Marcus Memphis, Jarris, Indiana Pacers. So, we've been good a long time. It's because we got good players.
Yeah. And you keep feeding the pipeline.
Yeah, we got good players coming up, too.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
That was Coach Kelvin Sampson yesterday out supporting John Lucas at the John Lucas Golf Tournament. And so it was really all hands on deck for a great cause. So, hey, good morning, Marcel Brooks. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate you. Good morning, our legal expert, Charles Lamar Drayton. I'm sure as the legal mind that you have, the legal genius that you are, you have I can't wait to hear your thoughts on all of the things that have been happening in the legal world on the political side as of late. So we definitely have to catch up soon. And hello, Carolyn Moore. Welcome. Good morning. It's good to see you as well. Thank you guys, as always, for being a part of Chalk Talk. Now, I did say that I was going to let you hear from the parents. I like to always, especially at the beginning of, when the drafts happen, when I can talk to parents, I always think that's exciting. And I had a chance yesterday to talk with Colleen Whitmore. She is the mother of Cam Whitmore. He, of course, came out of Villanova, was expected to go higher in the draft, but did not. Fell, and I hate to keep saying that, but that was, that's part of the narrative. It was speculated that he would be selected in the top 10, maybe as high as 5, and maybe even the Rockets had some consideration for him at 4, but he was available when the Rockets came up at 20. They picked him. You've heard Rafael Stone and Ime Udoka both say previously that, hey, you know what? We wanted him, and we were trying to see how we could move up earlier to get him, and then we're like, oh wait, he's sliding, and it worked out. So they are very pleased with the 2 picks they got in this year's draft. And here is Colleen Whitmore, Cam's mother, just talking about the experience and about her son and what we should know about it. So your the excitement you're feeling and just the initial impressions for this past, not even week yet. How's it been for you and your son?
It's been a whirlwind. I don't remember what day it is today, so it's just been nonstop all last week and this week, but just really fortunate and grateful. All things work out for, as they should, and so we are grateful that he's used to this area, so it just worked out perfectly no matter where he landed. As he said, he's in the NBA, and that's always been his dream.
There's always a lot to be made about where a player lands, and like as Coach Udoka says, once you get to the league, it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
As a parent, how did you help him on that Thursday night before you get to really think about that's what matters most?
Well, I don't think we have to help him own it, because all along, I used to ask him, well, what do you think happens? If it happens, nothing's guaranteed. And he's like, my only dream was to be in the NBA. And it's right, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're in the NBA, and that's his dream, and that's how he feels. So we didn't really have to help him, deal with anything at all. It was a surprise to him, because the media, they talk everything up, but he was okay. Yeah.
What should fans know about your son? I mean, you can look at his stats, but tell me about him as a person.
He's a hard worker, or as a person, not basketball.
Either way, all of it,
Well, he's a hard worker. He loves a challenge. Don't count him out. He just will do whatever it takes to be better. And he loves basketball, and he works at his craft daily. He eats, sleeps it, and I just think he's going to do a great job. And he's very he's tenacious, he's articulate, just his resilience, everything that's happened to him throughout his, his basketball life, his young life, and always bounce back stronger, no matter what came his way. He dealt with it, and he got better each and every time.
What do you know about the NBA and what young players should do to kind of make the transition?
And I think Cameron alluded to it on the stage, block out the noise, stay focused, look at the end game, what is the goal here? And it's to play great basketball, be an asset to your team, to the organization, and everything else, doesn't matter. There's going to be days he plays well, great days he doesn't, and, get that tunnel vision and don't let all that noise in, because it distracts you from your craft.
One of the things that Kim said, I think somebody asked him, hey, what do you know about the Houston Rockets? Now, he said, I did know a lot, but let me take that back. He knew a little because he's been training here, preparing for, the draft and the upcoming season. But he also said, after, he was drafted, at dinner, he was looking at film. So first thing he did was at dinner, right? Celebrating, having dinner after being drafted, was that, hey, let me look at some film and get to know my new team. That's kind of what his mom said, is he's a hard worker and he's very, very focused. And we got that. And I got that impression just from listening to him yesterday as well. So welcome to Houston, Kim Whitmore. And you'll hear from his father another day. Both of his parents were there. Both of Amin Thompson's parents were there. His mother, Maya Wilson, and his father, they both were on hand. And in one of the videos, you probably saw a little bit of hair in my video. Well, that was because I was sitting behind Amin's twin brother, and it was kind of tough to shoot around like his hair. So that's what you saw. So they were, able to be together with him in Detroit when he was announced and introduced to Detroit media last week on Friday. And then the whole family was in town yesterday in Houston when Amin was introduced to the Rockets, to Houston rather, and the city and to media. So it was truly was a family affair altogether. So listen, before I let you hear from Amin Thompson's parents, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Houston Astros. It has been so interesting of late to me. The Astros have been struggling. There's no question about that. I'm actually looking to pull up their record over the past. So the Astros right now are at 42-36. They are 3-7 in their last 10 games. right? They are 5 games behind the Rangers for first in the American League West. The Angels are also 5 games behind the Rangers. They have the excuse me, the same percentage of 538 winning percentage in terms of their record. So they're both about this. They're both 5 games behind the Rangers. Okay. It's been a struggle. They were off yesterday. They did win on Sunday. They beat the Dodgers in Los Angeles in extra innings. The final was 6-5. Was it extra innings? On Sunday. Yeah, 6-5 on Sunday. They lost a close one, a tough one on Saturday to the Dodgers. Hang on a second. Where? They lost that one 7-8. And it was a crazy finish with a balk happening late in the game and against Stanek. Brian Abreu got the loss. It's just been, they've not had great outings from the bullpen recently. And in particular, Rafael Montero. There's been a lot of criticism about Rafael Montero. He has not pitched well. There is no question about that. I'm pulling up something from Sunday's game again. Yes, it was extra inning. It was they won it in the 11th inning. Rafael Montero came in and just gave up the lead. Right? He didn't pitch well. He hasn't pitched well really all season, and so the criticism, the rumblings, not even rumblings, just the all-out, I just called it kind of ridiculousness about Dusty Baker, talking about he should be fired. I've heard that, not just from fans. Like, I let fans make it because fans are short for fanatics. That's what happens. But people who, I guess I would have to call air quote colleagues that are on their platform saying that Dusty should be fired. Dusty Baker should be fired because his reliever can't pitch his way out of a bag? Is that what we're saying? So let me just stop for a moment. And you get no argument with me about the fact that Rafael Montero he's not pitching well. But he is on the roster. And so what do you do when you've got to go to your bullpen? Do you just never go to a guy who's supposed to be one of your relievers to give you a few innings? When do you pitch him? Which is one of the questions Dusty asked in response to the question to him about why he went to Rafael Montero. And so I heard someone on a local radio station yesterday say, well, he was asked about Maris and he said he had used him a couple of days in a row. And this particular show host said, well, he only pitched to 2 batters the day before and they're off on Monday. And what that immediately told me is this is a person who's probably never played marbles, right? It doesn't really work like that. Oh, he only pitched to 2. So the pitch you have to warm up, and you may think it was only 2 batters, but that's not really how it works with relief pitching. And so having to give guys days off so you don't burn them, get them injured, and then you're in a further hole because you've got some challenges with your bullpen, it's just kind of ridiculous. And to say that Dusty should be fired, these are fireable offenses, they've called him an idiot. I mean, it's just, I'm like, here we are again already. But I guess I should not be surprised because even when the team's winning, even last season when they were winning and they didn't have very many lulls, there was still this ridiculous criticism about Dusty Baker. And I just ask myself, where does it come from? I didn't hear any of the criticism about Rafael Montero being given a new contract a few days after the World Series last year. Let's see. So that's not done by Dusty. Dana Brown had not even been hired yet. That was a Jim Crane move. And oh yeah, by the way, Bagwell is a big influencer in what happens, but there's never any criticism about, is this something that Jeff Bagwell may have suggested? I mean, maybe talk about the fact that this is who's on the roster instead of he's on the roster, we have to use him. And listen, I am not one to say that every single move that Dusty always makes is perfect, but I am one to say that Dusty's a hell of a manager. And to start talking about him in the way that they do, there's a particular reporter that there's a beat writer that covers the Astros who, listen, just ain't a Dusty fan. And he creates narratives, and people who don't really cover baseball all the time, they pick it up and they carry it like this ridiculous narrative that says, oh, Dusty just doesn't like Chas McCormick. Where y'all get that from? You get it from one particular writer, and it's just kind of disgusting, quite frankly. It's disgusting because, okay, so that particular writer has an issue and is not a fan of Dusty's. But everybody else, you just gonna take his word? Oh, that's right, because you don't know enough about baseball, and or you don't cover it enough, so you're not there. So the whole narrative about it, and I heard it last week from somebody who I like and respect, a colleague on another show, and I said to him, "Where'd you get that from?" And I knew where he got it from. He confirmed it. I said, "Yeah, well, I wouldn't repeat anything he said because he lacks credibility with me." But that's what happens. And so, yeah, Charles says, yeah, we know why he gets the criticism, this criticism. It's so unfortunate that it's just so ugly and venomous. I mean, how do you call the man an idiot? It's just, you're right, Charles. You'd like to think that we're beyond some of that, but then we're often reminded again and again. And the bigger question should be, what's the plan for shoring up the roster, right? The other thing is you're without Yordan Alvarez. When you hear national commentators talk about the Astros, I was watching the game against the Dodgers on Sunday night on ESPN, and you heard them say, well, listen, the Astros are going to be fine. They lost Lance McCullers, they lost Garcia for the season. They were out Brantley. They were without Jose Altuve for a while. They're without Yordan Alvarez right now. And the guy stopped and said, listen, you got to think about what it means to not have a Yordan Alvarez in the lineup. It's all the people before him that it impacts. It's the people behind him in the lineup. He changes the way pitchers can approach the lineup because he is one of the top 3 hitters in baseball. That's not me. You may say I'm a homer because I'm in Houston and I cover the team. That is what was said on the national broadcast to help people understand. And he said, I wouldn't worry about the Astros. We're not even at the All-Star break, which you guys hear me say all the time. He said, give them a minute, let them, get some players back, get Alvarez back. Maybe they get Brantley back, make a move perhaps to do something to get some help from the bullpen, and they will be just fine. How about that narrative, right? And you're right, Charles, absolutely. They won the World Series last year, went to the World Series the year before, shorthanded, and has, since he stepped in and to take over the team in the midst of chaos, they have been very productive. Hey, good morning, Sylvia. My sister Sylvia tuning in. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Josie. It's good to see you. You guys, I'll have to tell you later about Josie. She is a massage therapist, but not just a massage therapist. She focuses on trigger points. And, if you got something ailing you, you need to go see Josie, whether it's your knee or your ankle or your back, whatever it is. Now, let me tell you, this is not the fun, relaxing massage that, it's the massage that gets you better, right? And so it's a little painful, but it gets the job done. It's called trigger point therapy. If you're looking for it, inbox me. I'll connect you with Josie. She is amazing. She's going on vacation next week. So I'm just telling you, if I give you her information, we'll see, because I don't want to she already has lots of clients, and I need to see her when she gets back. But thanks for tuning in this morning, Josie. Hey, listen, that's all I'm going to say about the Astros and Dusty Baker. There's not a whole lot more to say. They're back in action tonight. The road trip continues. Today, the Astros are in St. Louis to take on the Cardinals. That game is at 6:45. And so they'll be on the road the rest of the week. They're back in action at Minute Maid Park next week. I'll be out to check out the Astros. But, if you happen to hear this nonsense about Dusty Baker should be fired, just recognize that it's nonsense. See it for what it is. Some people who don't know enough about baseball and that complained even when they were winning. So Anita Blue, good morning. Good morning. Anita Legacy Blue. Good morning, my friend. It's good to see you. Welcome to Chalk Talk. It's good to have you in the house live. Remember, all of you, if you will, please share the video with your platforms wherever you are watching the show live. If you'll just share the video, and know also that once the show airs live, it becomes a podcast across all the podcast platforms as well. Before we get to the big interview with our AI expert, I want to let you hear from Amin Thompson's parents. Now, remember, he is one of two twins, right? His twin brother was selected with the 5th pick and went to Detroit. And so here are Amin's parents yesterday after their son Amin was introduced to the Houston media. And just the excitement around it.
Oh, it's beautiful because finally, the boys have been working on this dream for a long time, and finally to see them get there, to see them have the focus necessary to even get there, and to stay hungry because they still working out every day in the hotel. They find a place to work out and do their thing. It's really pleasing to me.
What do you guys do? How is this going to work? Like, will one of you be with one of the sons and one with the other? Because I know they're still very young, although they're grown-ups. What's the plan?
Well, we haven't determined that yet. We'll determine the plan over the next few days.
But I can say this, we will be going back and forth. How we do it, we don't have that solidified just as yet, but we will definitely be going back and forth, showing our support.
What excites you most about your sons and just the fact that they worked hard? Like, what do you know about them that other people should know?
Their humility. They are extremely determined, focused, and just all around wonderful, unique, mature young men. And that's the one thing that I'm finding out more and more as I see them in these types of situations, the way that they are able to articulate their feelings, their positions, to be thoughtful, considerate, team players, and humble, once again. The humility is big.
And they're very engaging and funny. I mean, I don't know if you see them in interviews, because sometimes I'm like, okay, these guys really, and part of that is the training they did over the last few years with the media and all that. I really see in front of the cameras or when they got to do activations, they're very comfortable.
What do you know about the NBA and this step that they're taking, about the league and what it means for young players and how they kind of find their way?
I know nothing.
We know the NBA. we know for young basketball players, the NBA is the beginning of the end goal. That's what they do it for. And I don't care where they are in the world. They all do it for the NBA first, whether they come here and like it or not. So I'm glad the boys are here.
Thank you. That was Maya Wilson and her husband, Troy Thompson Jr., talking about their sons. Of course, Amin Thompson is the son that will play here with the Houston Rockets, and his brother Asar was drafted in the next pick, with the 5th pick, to the Detroit Pistons. Did I say Tigers earlier? To the Detroit Pistons. So they will figure it out. The mom told me, but they'll be going back and forth, and you will see them around their sons. It was interesting to visit with her off camera as well. We had some interesting conversation. There was another mother of another player, not for Rockets, but for another team, who's at the press conference, in which she went over and introduced herself to Mrs. Thompson. And she said, hey, just wanted to say hello, welcome you to the league. You know, she's a mom, and she referenced her son. And she said, hey, you know, they're not very kind to us in the league. And so Mrs. Thompson looked at her and she said, oh, I mean the wives and the girlfriends. So I kind of, you know, I was actually standing there waiting to talk to Maya and her husband, Troy. And so I was not trying to ear hustle. I just was standing right in the middle. So that was interesting. And, you know, Mrs. Thompson kind of looked and was kind of like, oh, okay. So the stories there are about the NBA. So perhaps that's a show some other day, probably not here. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting as well. Wanted to let you hear from all of them who were a part of the press conference on yesterday. And as promised, I want you to hear from now. Tune in to check out the big interview. It is with Dr. Patrick Dix. He is an artificial intelligence expert. He's been in this space about 25 years, the world of technology. He's studied it. He's worked in it, he's also a professor. He's actually working on a book without some of this information, but he talks about artificial intelligence in a way that is easy to understand. And he talks about why we should be paying attention, what we should know about it, and how we should get prepared for how it can impact our lives moving forward. Here is Dr. Patrick Dix. Welcome back to Chalk Talk. I'm Kim Davis, and my guest today is Dr. Patrick Dix. I'm super excited to talk to you. He is an expert in artificial intelligence and automation. Welcome to Chalk Talk.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So what happens is when I have experts on the show, then you become the AI expert. So you'll have to come back.
I don't mind at all.
The first thing I want to ask you is I said automation and I said artificial intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
They're two different things,
Yes.
right? Explain to me and the audience what the difference is.
Well, artificial intelligence is a way for software to mimic your movements. If you're walking down a hallway, you can use artificial intelligence to help you become more efficient at walking. Or, you know, they will apply that into a factory. If you're doing a motion, if you're moving one way in a manufacturing environment, shaving time off of movements is a way to have a greater revenue. And in automation, you would use that to automate the process. So those two technologies will work together, but separately at some point. And automating the process is taking the human interaction out of it completely. An example of that would be your self-checkout aisles. So when you go to pay for groceries, you are doing everything on your own. And that is an example of automation and artificial intelligence.
So there's so much to talk about, right? Because we see almost every other day there's something in the news about artificial intelligence. This is your field. And why do you think it's important to talk about it? And what do you want people to really know?
Well, first of all, the technology has been around since about the 1950s, and we just didn't know.
Artificial intelligence.
Yes, 1950s,
Okay.
late 40s, 1950s, and we didn't know what to call it. But the thing about it now is it's into our everyday life, from social media, from searches, even into sports, marketing, banking, etc. And what I want people to know about the technology is it has many advantages, but it also has some disadvantages. The advantages are to increase productivity and to make processes better, but the disadvantages would be it will eliminate several jobs. And the best thing to do is to learn about the technology, learn how you can use it in your everyday life, because you're going to hear several definitions about it. The best thing to do is have your own overview of it versus reading something on the internet.
So I think that's a great point. And I think it's interesting because people might be afraid of it, right? Like, oh my gosh, especially, you know, depending on which generation you're in, like baby boomers and older might say, that's too much. What do you say to people who, I'm afraid of it, so I'm just not going to worry about it?
Well, when we talk about being afraid of it, it's the unknown. You know,
Yeah.
you have a fear. You know, anything new, people are afraid of it. But one of the things, particularly with baby boomers, you know, telemedicine. You know, your phone, either you're on a Samsung or either you're using an iPhone. This is the future, from banking to talking with your kids to talking with family members.
So you're already using it. So it's
Yeah.
better to just maybe get a little more comfortable with it, right?
Yes, get comfortable using it, or well, not or, but also retrain on it. Learn how to use it better. FaceTime, you have other apps, but you're already using it every day, so it's better to learn more about it.
Now, you said something when you started. You talked about AI in sports, which obviously is of a particular interest to me.
Yes.
How is AI? So when I think of it, I'm thinking about analytics. Is
Yes.
that what you would say?
Yes, and also I researched it's also used, you have scouts for teams.
Mhm.
So if you have a scout, you can say, hey, what would be the predictability analysis of me drafting Patrick overall #1? He has the right height, the right arm, and right weight. What will be his longevity for the team? It takes a lot of the guessing out of it. You even have it in gambling. Since they legalized gambling to be able to be used in sports, like with DraftKings,
Mhm.
you can use artificial intelligence to say, who should I bet on?
So artificial intelligence is really integrated into a lot of things
Yeah.
that we do, right? And it's just, so where are we in the process? It's been around for a while, but it's still so much that we don't know about it. What should people? So I'm listening. I hear you tell me that it's here. It's only going to continue to be a part of our society. What should I know and what should I pay attention to?
Well, the main thing you should know, it's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
It's going to get more sophisticated. It's going to become more complex, and it's going to get more efficient. Two, everything that you're going to do in life from here on out is going to involve some form of AI, from a vehicle, from a job, etc. Lastly, learn about the technology, embrace it. That's the biggest thing I tell people. If you embrace it, it's here. When every other industrial revolution, we're number 4, you have to embrace change. Sometimes change is for the worse, and sometimes change is for the better. But the overall definition of an industrial revolution is to move people forward.
Now, you said industrial revolution. We're in the 4th one, and I think we talked before we started this conversation. What was the 3rd one?
The 3rd one, we talked about Texas Instruments.
Yes,
we talked
when
about
you say
computers
that.
in the 50s and 60s. That was the last revolution. You could say some parts of the 70s, but the United States is behind the rest of the world. But if you really think about it, the last big technology discoveries we had were in the 80s and 90s. What people don't realize is the internet, through the DARPA or ARPANET project through the Department of Defense, was made available in the 70s. Humans only got access, not humans, but people only got access to the internet in the late 80s and early 90s. So the internet has only really been around for access for about 30 plus years for us.
It was here. We just didn't,
Yes.
us mere civilians just didn't have access to it.
No, it was used mainly for the military at first, and they gave us access to it. And the internet, has revolutionized how things are going. We're in a digital world now, from Web 3.0, artificial intelligence, deep learning neural networks, which are all subsets of artificial intelligence, and working along with automation.
So what made you decide to do this work, right? I know that you are working on a book, that you have these regular, segments on your YouTube channel where you're telling people about it. Why is it important to you? Why have you kind of taken this on between your research and all that you do to make this be your field?
Well, one of the main reasons I decided to research this, I never saw somebody look like me talk about something like this. And one of the things I call this technology is life altering. When I say life altering, it is going to change society and move it forward like nothing before. We had those 3 prior revolutions, but right now we have technology that is encompassing to every fiber of what we're doing. And, one of the other things is I like to help people. Not only being an adjunct professor, helping people and having them become visionaries to see what's down the road, because I see what's happening, and it would be a travesty for me not to share the information with people. So I want to share it with them and let them know you need to prepare for what's about to happen.
Now, one of the things I heard you say earlier, we talked about there's an AI Bill of Rights.
Yes.
Does that have to do with, because it's so new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, there's probably not a lot of regulations, but what is the AI Bill of Rights? And I just recently heard about it. How long has it been around?
The White House, I guess you'd say the Biden administration, came up with this in October 2022. It's the blueprint for the AI. It's the blueprint for artificial intelligence. And pretty much it, in so many words to sum it up, it is governing artificial intelligence, to regulate it.
Mm-hmm.
and to make sure artificial intelligence is used for purposes not to, eliminate humanity, but to use it to make things better. So if you don't govern this kind of technology or put any kind of reins on it, it can fall into the wrong hands, and there could be catastrophic things that happen.
So at least they've started, right? I'm sure there's a long
Yes.
way to go, but at least there's some effort underway to have some sort of, I guess, first understanding about it,
Yes.
right? And then some guidelines.
Yes, you have to understand what it can do. And I'm pretty sure the White House has some subject matter experts to understand the possibilities of it. But there's going to have to be more regulations. It's just like anything else that's created. You have to learn about it and see what it can do. But you overall have to protect the people and protect the companies to say, hey, you can't do this with the technology, because we're talking about, let's say, for instance, if they want to replace 10 to 20 million people, eliminate their job, what are you going to do for those 10 to 20 million people that you are pretty much displacing? So that's why you have to have some type of strict regulations to say, you can use it for this, but you can't use it for that. And I'm glad that the White House has started the talks with companies or, other people about how to regulate it.
Because at this point, there's not really any regulation around it. One of the things you said that I thought was interesting, we think about Japan, right, and other parts of the world that are all right. So welcome back to Chalk Talk. I'm Kim Davis, and my
and call someone and say, hey, I'm having this problem.
So, but there are still, even beyond those spaces, there's still other industries, I guess, that you can't really replace. Like my electrician, I'm going to have to get an electrician to come, check out what's happening with my ceiling fan or my wiring.
Yes. So, blue collar fields, they, when you talk about electricians, when you talk about HVAC, electricians, plumbers, there is some form of technology and AI to help them diagnose problems, but there is no robot that can come and fix an AC unit or wire a building or put or glue back two pieces of PVC pipe together. So those industries have an element of technology in them, but they have to have humans to actually do the work. It's to make it more efficient. Say for instance, they're building a house. The lasers can help point where to put the actual studs at or the foundation, but there is no robot that is going to come in and put up a foundation and someone trusting it.
So it sounds to me like this is something that should be integrated, the understanding of it, into our education system. Because if this is the future, where are we in terms of, we're so behind anyway, but who should be learning about this? What should be happening in schools as it relates to artificial intelligence?
As best kids learn as early as possible. If you have a child that loves to take things apart, they could be an engineer. If you have a daughter that loves to do the same, they could be an engineer. The earlier we do it, the faster kids can get on board, because we have to think about it. You shouldn't be asking someone when they're in the 9th to 10th grade what you want to be. It might defeat the purpose. You need to ask them when they're younger. Even the education curriculums, we're preparing kids to be test takers. The good thing about life is there is no test for life. There is no book for life. When you step out and get a high school diploma, or you get a GED, the game of life resets. And there is no book to life. I've never met anyone that said I followed the book. There are curves in life. There are no straight lines. And you might have to do things 15 times over to get it correct. So that's why the education system needs to be revamped to prepare students to where if they want to go into a white collar field, they'll be prepared. If they want to be in a blue collar field, they'll be prepared.
And the last thing I'm going to ask you about is, when people think about artificial intelligence, right? Most people are thinking about Chat GPT. What should we know about Chat GPT in terms of, it can be helpful for research, but what should we really know about it, and how should we navigate it?
Well, one of the things about Chat GPT, it's only as good as the information it's researching. In programming, there's something called garbage in, garbage out.
So that means how I ask it or what I ask it for is only as good as that?
It's only as good as you frame it, but also the data it's pulling from. So if you have garbage data, you're going to get out garbage data. And ChatGPT, many people are trying to use it for essays, lawyers. I saw where a lawyer tried to use it in federal court. So people have to realize the technology is here, but there are certain uses, writing a paper. And, since I'm an educator part-time, that's called plagiarism. You are using someone else's work and not giving them credit for it. And the schools that I teach for, they send out messages trying to find out a way to detect, because you have safe assign and you have turn it in. So they're going to find ways. When I say their companies and the school systems are going to find a way to make sure that you can't just turn in a paper. It's really plagiarism, and you could get kicked out of school for that.
So I was reading something somewhere where in ChatGPT where it talks about how you can use this and use it as your own, but that is, maybe that's in business or marketing, but not, you're saying in education is different.
Yeah, education is different. You can write an essay or a paper. The thing is, who are you giving credit to? The big thing about writing papers in education,
you have to attribute where you get it from.
You have to be, where's your source at? And the tools we have now are good. They just have to get more sophisticated. So people have to really walk the line or ask ChatGPT medical advice. One of the websites people would use would be WebMD. You can't self-diagnose yourself. That's the scary part.
Right.
And I hope people don't use ChatGPT to say, what medicine should I take if I have coronary heart disease? You're not a medical doctor. You have to be real careful with that. And I hope people are using it, with discretion. The ChatGPT is not accurate. It can be accurate, but I would not risk my life on ChatGPT. It is only as good as the information it retrieves and pulls from.
I think that's great advice and a great way to kind of wrap up, because I've heard people say, well, you know what, it's here, so we're just using it. And so if you use it as a tool, right, to supplement, but if you start to rely on it completely, what happens if it crashes and it's gone?
Yes.
I think you lose that skill of, like I write, and if I don't write regularly, then I lose that ability to be really effective as a writer or communicator.
Well, I think if we use it too much, it's going to handicap us.
Mm-hmm.
And in that aspect, it takes away the the ability to be able to research and read information, because you're going to trust a piece of artificial intelligence to tell you or to look at you and say, hey, do this. No, the paper's right. And you're going to have a lot of people that use it and not fact check the paper and be like, there's a word, misspelled words in it. Well, ChatGPT did it. And I'm pretty sure they're going to be kids or adults that say ChatGPT was a resource or a citation in my paper.
Dr. Patrick Dix, what should people do? So I've heard this conversation. Where do I go? How do I start? I want to know more about AI.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you have a book coming out. We'll have you come back when that's closer. But what do I do now? Where can I go get information on what I should know about AI?
Well, one of the things you should know, you should be open to retraining. The information is here. Not the information and the software is here. You should be open to retraining to learn about AI. Take an introductory course to artificial intelligence, robotics, and automation. Second thing, you should invest into the technology. This is new. If you don't have the funds, you can get a group of friends or, borrow a loan. But the technology is new. It's still on the infancy stage to investing in it. And, as I was talking with you earlier, many people are going to be made millionaires because they invested into the technology. Third, I would also learn about, the K curriculum, the K through 12 curriculum, sorry, my mind was somewhere else, the education. If you have a young child or if you are an adult, we have many kids that just graduated high school and are about to enter college. Think about what your degree is going to be in. When I say STEM, I mean engineering. I'm talking about healthcare, nursing, data science, cybersecurity. And also, if you don't want to go to a four-year school, go major into a trade, HVAC, electricians, electricity, plumbers, construction. Learn how to be a landscaper. When I say landscaper, cutting grass, people don't realize you can make a lot of money cutting grass. And, those are the three big things I will focus on, right now. Until my book comes out and I get more research, I'll be able to help everyone out. But I'm tidying up the book and we should have it out sometime in the fall.
All right. Well, until then, we will, and also we can follow you on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube. My name is Dr. Patrick Dix. On Instagram, it's King of Automation _AI. And my website is thedixconsultinggroup.com. But the website by the 1st of August or the middle of August will have a whole new look to it. And those are the major places to follow me on. I mean, reach out to me for a consultation on the website. There's a button to the right, but you can follow me. I post frequently to learn more about AI, and there are going to be things I discover that I want to share with everyone. And there are things you're going to discover you can share with me, because I don't have all the answers. I'm still learning like everybody else.
Dr. Patrick Dix, our AI expert. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
All right.
Dr. Patrick Dix, our AI expert. Thank you for hanging around for that interview. He was in town recently doing some other work and got a chance to visit with him. Coach Leah, you're funny. She says, I want to be like you when I grow up. I say, aim higher, my friend, aim higher. Hey, listen, we are out of time for today. Thank you so much for being a part of Chalk Talk. Be sure and share this video with wherever you're seeing it. Know that it will also air again on as a podcast across all the podcast platforms. I appreciate all of you. And remember, if you are not registered to vote, get registered. Get registered, stay registered, and then make sure that you're an informed voter so that whenever an election comes up, you don't have to get registered because you're already there. The other thing is, remember to do something kind for yourself and do something kind for somebody else. Until next Tuesday, I will see you on Chalk Talk. But in the meantime, follow me across all my social media platforms. I'll give you updates on all the cool things happening. Make it a great week, everybody. See ya.